hi, if I'm going live anywhere, it's saying that I'm not allowed to go live on LinkedIn. So let's see. Okay, I'm going to do that another time. Never mind. That's cool. Anyone else on? Anyone is live watching, then quite simply drop me a comment. Let me know where you are. I'm just moving something from the broadcast quickly in the background, but I can still see you, so it's fine. So yeah, if you're watching from somewhere, throw up a comment. And if you've got a question for me as well, even better, I can even put your comment up on the screen and get you involved. So that's cool. Okay. So I hope you're well. I'm a little bit late, about 10 past, is it? Nearly quarter past, never mind. I was just sorting out a few things, wanted to make sure that it was extra nice for you. And I've got a couple of pooches running around me, so they're sitting there thinking I'm talking to them at the moment, which is quite funny. So yeah, really, really good topic of conversation today. What is hypnosis and coaching? Because sometimes people don't know. And a good way to start with that sometimes is to basically let you know how I discovered it. So that's where I'll start. I discovered it because I wanted to stop smoking was one, and also I had some anger management issues. This was probably about 8 or 9 years ago, and I was thinking this was as long as that. Yeah, 2000. Yeah, probably about 7 years ago, something like that. So I went to a guy actually out here in Spain, and before that I had these thoughts that hypnosis and whatever was just like what you see on telly, or I'd seen it on like holidays with family and stuff. We'd have like hypnosis shows or hypnotic comedy shows. So for then someone to say, oh no, we can use it to do a multitude of different things, to have character traits, or to install something that you want, like stop smoking. I believe another one out here which is quite popular is the gastric band one, to help people to stop eating so much. It's a weight loss program essentially. So that did work for me. I stopped smoking for like a couple of years. That was great. And the anger management one was good as well. I thought at the time the guy was going to then end up being a bit like a life coach, or a bit of someone that was going to support me, like a mentor. He wasn't. But that's kind of what I wanted, and that's what I always probably was looking for. But now I get that in a different, a lot of different ways. I've multiple coaches and multiple mentors in different areas of my life, depending on what it is that I want and what they've got to offer me, really. So I've got some for business, some for personal stuff, and some to do with education as well. If you want to learn new skills, go to the people that have those skills and learn from them. Simple as that. So the anger management side of it that I did was really interesting, because I remember what he did was, I know what it's called now. At the time I wouldn't know what they were doing, what he was doing in my mind, and he was creating new beliefs essentially, and replacing stuff using NLP techniques, or cognitive behavioral therapy, or NLP is neuro-linguistic programming, which means the power of the language that you use, as well as your imagination, to create neurons to fire in your brain and create new habits of thinking. So really, really powerful stuff. And then I'd kind of forgotten about it for a while. With the anger management, what used to anger me was, I was running a bar, and I was under a lot of stress, and so I used to react and get triggered very, very easily. So he basically replaced it. So instead of me getting angry and saying something, I would see the colour red. I'd then think of a clown, and then I'd think of my favourite comedian, which I think it was Michael McIntyre at the time. That's one I chose, and I'd imagine him making me laugh, and that's what I did. And it did work, and it was good, and it calmed me down. So then later on in life, when I found myself stressed, and this is the essential thing about these what coaching and hypnosis can be used for. A lot of the time we suffer in our lives is to do with stress and overthinking. Well, it's not a lot of the time. It is all the time, actually. It's always to do with stress caused by overthinking. And then whether or not you're overthinking something in the past or the future depends on what happens to your body. But essentially, the physiology of your body is the same. But it's just the labels, a lack of understanding of what's happening in your body because it's happening at weird times. For instance, you're in Sainsbury's and you're worried about all these different things and you're stressed out and you're late, and then you get to the checkout and you've forgotten something, and then you have a panic attack or anxiety spell. And that's the same physiology of you being basically in like fight or flight, like something dangerous is happening to you. Or sometimes when you're really excited, it's the same physiology, but because of the labels you put on it, that's what then creates the overthinking of, why is this happening to me? I'm stood in Sainsbury's, or I'm stood in my kitchen making a cup of tea and I've got these weird feelings. What's happening? It always goes back to stress-induced thoughts. And then, of course, that affects your sleep. And then if you don't sleep effectively, then the whole thing is just accentuated and multiplies and amplifies. So later on in life, I had a lot more stress. And what I didn't realise at the time was that I was kind of needed to understand where it was coming from. I needed also have a better understanding of why I was getting stressed, where it was coming from, what I could do about it. So I went on a journey, and that journey took me down the road of seeing a therapist here in Spain, because what I was basically going through was creating a lot of anxiety, but it was still stress. I wasn't sleeping. I had an unhealthy relationship with drugs. Well, I say drugs, it's not all drugs. It's just I used to go out and party a lot. Well, being in that kind of expat community, being in a place in that environment of late bars and music venues, very, very easy to fall into bad habits of taking cocaine, smoking weed, drinking every day, alcohol. So all those things don't do anything to help you. They kind of desensitize and take away the focus from the stresses and the thoughts. It's a cloaking mechanism almost. But then when you are sober, or when you are straight, or when you're thinking about these things, you're not thinking in an intellectual place, in your intellectual mind. So you're always going to come up with answers which aren't going to serve you. So I went to see someone. Someone was like, "Oh, you got anxiety, you're stressed out. Go and see someone that I saw." So I went and saw a guy that essentially was a counsellor, but his qualifications was cognitive behavioural therapy, CBT. The bit I always got confused about was because he was also called Costa Blanca therapy. So when I was seeing him, I didn't know if I was seeing the counsellor or a guy for cognitive behavioural therapy, but he was kind of doing both, and he was starting to open my eyes up to things like personality traits, and how people play games with each other because of these personality traits that they have, and the reasons behind it. So that was really, really eye-opening. It also allowed me to go on a self-development journey, which meant that I was trying to learn more. I wanted to learn more so I could give back. That was the underline of all of this, was I wanted to learn so I could give back. And that's what it did for me. It gave me a reason to live. It gave me a reason to continue to grow and to learn. And it also allowed me to know that it wasn't my fault, what I was feeling, what I was thinking, and take back control of those feelings and thoughts, and be in control, so that when other things happened externally from me, realizing with coaching, which is thought-provoking, we will have blind spots, and the coach will actually steer around those blind spots for you and get you to come up with the answers, rather than a mentor will tell you things. So that all being said, the hypnotherapy side was about installing good habits and good beliefs back in to replace the negative ones which have been formed, which is programmed into us. So with the hypnotherapy for reprogramming, understanding more about neuroscience and the linguistics, the language you use with yourself and others to make you feel a certain way, that was how the two married up and worked very well for me. So I hope that makes sense. I'm going to dive off this live because what I want to do is I want to dive off and I'm going to jump on straight again, because I want to have another live talking about basically like the thoughts in your head, because we all have voices in our heads, right? And if you have a voice which isn't your own in your head, you need to seek help quickly. But we'll have your own voice in your head, but it will kind of have different conversations at times. And there's like 3 or 4 different ways that can go. You know, intuition, it's very, very powerful. You also have like a negative voice in your head. You have a positive voice in your head. Positive voice gets drowned out a lot, but when you become more aware and when you're basically a lot happier in yourself and you're reaching for the feeling good things, and you know that you can change your physiology to betterly serve you in life, you'll be able to let go of thoughts, because you are not your thinking. You know, thoughts occur. And one of the things about hypnotherapy and coaching, it all helps to steer that in the right direction for you, with help and guidance and support. A lot of the time you choose a different coach or a therapist that has a particular niche, works with people that have they've either experienced that themselves or work with people, so they've got a plethora of experience in that area, working with people that have essentially what you need. So it's always good. That's why I will offer calls for people and say to them that you know, it's as much as me interviewing you as you interviewing me, to make sure we're a good fit to work with each other, because otherwise it's then there's no exchange of value, there's no energy transfer there. It's not to do with money, it's about helping people, and it's about getting people results. So if you're not the right person to work with each other, you're not going to get the results. Simple as that, because you need to be motivated to do it. So I'm going to jump off and I'm actually going to jump back on another one. So look out on the platforms, because if you want to continue this conversation, I'm going to be back in a couple of minutes. So toodles, peace out.